Often in life we ask the question, how can I do this? When the question should actually be, who can help me do this? Who Not How is a concept developed by strategic coach Dan Sullivan and organisational psychologist Dr. Benjamin Hardy. And in this episode we look at who not how in the world of content repurposing. Listen on to find out who your who's should be. You're listening to the Content 10x podcast, where it's all about content repurposing. I'm Amy Woods and I'm here to help you maximise your content and find smart ways to get your message in front of more of the right people, whilst also saving time. Let's get started. Hello and welcome to the Content 10x podcast. I'm Amy Woods. I'm the founder and CEO of Content 10x, and in this episode I'm going to be looking at the people who can help us with our content repurposing. So the Content 10x podcast is all about getting the most from your content, maximising its value, repurposing and distributing your content. And I recently read a book that really made me think about how we do this. Now, the book is called Who Not How. It's written by well-known entrepreneur coach, business owner and author Dan Sullivan and organisational psychologist Dr. Benjamin Hardy. It's a fantastic book. I highly recommend it. It's all about how to achieve bigger goals by working with others to achieve them. It really inspired me to delve a little deeper, and I wanted to share why here. So in this episode, I'm going to cover the concept of who, not how, and also how the who mindset can positively impact your business and your personal life as well, and why it's a good approach to apply to your content repurposing and in fact all areas of your marketing strategy. And also I'll cover who the who's are when it comes to content repurposing. Now, before I get to the main content, just to mention, if you want weekly content repurposing tips and guidance, industry updates, inspiring stories and exclusive news delivered straight to your email inbox, then join hundreds of marketers, business owners and creators and become a Content 10x insider. Head to content10x.com/newsletter to check that out. Okay, so who not how. The concept of who not how is basically when we want to achieve something in life, be it in our personal life or in our professional life, we often turn to the question of how. How am I going to do this? How will I learn the skills? How will I find the time? How do I accomplish the goal? But in fact, the question we should ask is who? Who can help me achieve this goal? Who would know what to do? Who has done this before? Who is an expert? Who can do this the best? And when we follow a how approach, it can often be slow and stressful. It can be an uncertain path because we're trying to figure something out. It can result in procrastination. And let's face it, if you achieve the result, did you achieve the best result? We often have a tendency to try and do everything, but you need to ask yourself, do you want to increase your effort or do you want to increase the results? You also have to consider the opportunity cost of a how approach. If you do something, then you are unable to do other things. It's a saying that we hear an awful lot, but it is true. Whenever you say yes to something, you are also saying no to other things. Now, on the other side, a who approach is about collaboration with others. It's all about teamwork. It's about finding the right people to take on a task or take something off your plate. A who approach is the faster approach versus the how approach. It's often a more certain approach to an outcome as well, and there are many more benefits, not to mention, if you find who's who are helping you achieve goals, you free up your time to focus on the most important things that you should be doing. So think about the who's that you have to help you in your life. You might have a cleaner, a gardener, someone who helps look after your children. They are who's. You could clean your house, but you're better off finding a who and committing your time elsewhere. Other who's might be, say, a mechanic when your car needs looking at, an electrician, a plumber, a plasterer. It all sounds quite obvious, But in business, we don't always do that. Now, I'm completely as guilty as the next person, though I'm trying to get better at this. I think I'm making improvements, and that's demonstrated by our growing team. So at Content 10X, we're now, as I speak, a team of 12, soon 13, with new roles introduced to the business. And an example of this, so we decided that we would start running LinkedIn ads, and I went down the route of how at first. So what training is out there? How will we learn how to do this? How will we work out the best approach for our LinkedIn ads? How are we going to run them? And then I turned it to who. Who can help us to do this? And we started working with experts at a LinkedIn ads agency called Straight In. They run our ads for us and provide the expertise. So the answer there was who, not how. So that's just an example of me trying to apply this approach. Now, when it comes to content repurposing, what approach should you take to who, not how? Content repurposing requires a lot of different skill sets if it's to be done well and comprehensively. And a big mistake that I see a lot of people make with content repurposing is they think that their who is one person. Now, if you were building a house, I don't think you'd expect one person to fulfill the role of architect, structural engineer, bricklayer, electrician, plumber, painter, decorator. And in the same way, one person can't be responsible for all aspects of content repurposing, making them a strategic thinker, a planner, writer, designer, video editor, maybe even podcast editor, social media platform expert, WordPress publisher, YouTube publisher, etc. This happens a lot, and it never fails to surprise me when someone says they've hired a content repurposing person and they span the creative role and writing role. They are two expert skill sets that I always think have to be at least two people, if not more. It's usually even worse than that. The one person spans the strategy, project management, creative and writing skill sets. It just makes no sense. So firstly, your content repurposing who is usually broken down into a number of different who's for the specific work required. Now, if you have an in-house team already consisting of writers, designers, editors, social media managers, then perhaps your content repurposing who is an overall project manager / content manager who can develop repurposing plans and then leverage the various who's already in the business to create and distribute repurposed content. Now, if you don't have people in-house already, you may look to hire those experts. Then the who question is in-house or outsource? If outsource, is it an agency or freelancers? So let's look at that. Now, the benefits of hiring in-house include consistency and dependability, maybe more buy-in, but the cost of recruitment, training, benefits, pensions, insurance, healthcare, the cost of replacement, that can be really high. And when you start to build that team, you have to have the time to manage them or hire in the management layer too. But nonetheless, you can begin to recruit your content repurposing who's. Sometimes an issue here though is that it's lots of different skill sets, so it's not necessarily full-time roles that you'll be wanting to fill. Another option is hiring freelancers to support you, so experts who are your who's for content repurposing covering different skill sets. Freelancers are usually maybe more expensive though than in-house, but they are a flexible option, and the pros and cons of that as well, because that can come with maybe a lack of consistency and dependability, and you still need to have a management layer, or you have to have time to manage those freelancers yourself. And at Content 10X, we're huge fans of having an episodic approach to your content. And you should check out episode 171. It's called 7 Reasons Why You Should Create Episodic Content. Head to content10x.com/171 to find out more on that. I think for episodic content to work well, you need clearly defined, repeatable systems and processes in place and dependable people to follow those processes. And I often see this fall apart when freelancers play a huge role in the process, but they come and go and aren't skipping to the same beat as the rest of the team. So that's just something to think about. Either way, hiring skilled freelancers certainly are who's to consider that can help you, and that approach can work out really well. Another who, could be a content repurposing agency like mine, Content 10x. So no surprise I would mention us. We are a who for all of our clients. Now, when I read the book, Who Not How, I really thought about this. I was really proud actually to think that we are an extremely important who to many B2B tech and professional services companies when they wanted to get more value from their content and grow their audience with smart repurposing, and they realised they needed a who versus a how approach, and it was us that they came to, and I'm really, really proud of that. Now, when our clients work with us, they often outsource all aspects of content repurposing and distribution to us, and we work in partnership with them. We have all the skill sets within our agency to comprehensively repurpose our clients' content, be it video, podcasts, webinars, live streams, virtual events, and so on. Now, I mentioned earlier that we're a team of 13 now as well, so we're a growing team with lots of different skill sets. So we're proud to be a who to everyone we work with, and even when projects come to an end, it's not at all uncommon for clients to come back to us again further down the line because they have the need for support with the repurposing again, and they recognise it's time to call a trusted who rather than work out how they will do it themselves. Now, with all of this, with all of these approaches, in-house, freelance, agency, you obviously need to have a budget. And the motto in the book, Who Not How, is if you have the money to solve a problem, then you don't have a problem. I think that's a really great saying. So if you have the money to solve a problem, then you don't have a problem. So I think when it comes to budget, it depends how important you think it is to get the most out of your content marketing efforts and maximize your content. If it's really important to you and you have the budget, then it should be a case of who, not how. So really, I just want you to have a think about this. As always on the show, we talk about content repurposing. So have a think about if there are any who's that you should be working with to help you with your repurposing. But also more generally, think about who, not how across your marketing overall and your entire business and your personal life too. And I really recommend the Who, Not How book. I'm sure you can tell that by now as I talk about it, and I've done a podcast episode about the concept, but it's a really good book, so I do recommend it. So there you have it. I really hope you've enjoyed this episode. As I mentioned, if you're looking for a who when it comes to content repurposing, our services at Content 10x may be just what you need. Could we be your who? We provide a fully end-to-end done-for-you video or audio repurposing service, whether you've got a weekly podcast or video show, regular webinars, an event, thought leadership content, we can help. Just head to content10x.com/services to learn more. And go to the show notes to find links to everything I've mentioned. They'll be at content10x.com/254, or they'll be there in the podcast listening app that you're listening to this on right now. And also, please consider subscribing to our newsletter to become a Content 10x insider. Head to content10x.com/newsletter. So I really hope you found this episode interesting. I'd be delighted if you could leave a like and a rating in your podcast app. All that's left to say is thank you so much for listening, and I'll catch you in the next one.